And Amazon looked at everything that UPS and FedEx is doing, and they said that's nothing more than logistics, and we're experts at logistics. So not only will Amazon compete head to head against FedEx and UPS, but I guarantee you, in that same time frame of between 2030 and 2035, Amazon becomes the new FedEx. Amazon becomes the new UPS.
Welcome to the Retail Gentic Podcast, where we explore the intersection of retail, e-commerce, and AI agents, which we call Retail Gentic. Our mission is simple. We are shining a bright light on the new agentic AI shopping megatrend, which will disrupt the trillion-dollar digital retail market. The stakes are high. Google, OpenAI, Microsoft, Perplexity, Amazon, Apple, Meta, and Anthropic are all fighting to be the consumer AI shopping agent winner. There are going to be some tough decisions for online brands and retailers to make. What happens to checkout? How should payments work? Should you continue to invest in retail media networks? What does the world look like when over half of your traffic is not from humans, but from AI agents? These existential questions are the tip of the iceberg. On this podcast, we're talking to industry experts, analysts, and influencers to get answers to these questions, identify trends, and best practices. This is Retail Gentic, your podcast partner in navigating our AI shopping agent future. And now here's your host, Scott Wingo.
Welcome to the Retail Agentic Podcast. Today we're going to take a little bit of a side quest from our normal agentic commerce conversations and talk about some interesting breaking news about Amazon's newest fulfillment concept. Imagine a day in the future. It's Sunday afternoon. You decide to have some friends over to watch the big game and realize you need some snacks and also some fixings for nachos and wings. Instead of going to the grocery store, you hail an Amazon autonomous Rivian van that, thanks to AI, has staged very close to your house because it has anticipated this need. It arrives in minutes, and a humanoid robot jumps off the van, where it is handed on the side of the van a tote that's refrigerated with all your products, and it walks it up to your porch, drops it off, and you receive a notification that your products have been delivered. This may sound like science fiction or an episode of Black Mirror, but today Amazon is one step closer. Today's guest, Brittain Ladd, worked for Amazon years ago to help dream up this concept and is now a top supply chain and logistics consultant. He recently was given a tour of a prototype van that Amazon has built that is a key part of achieving this vision. On today's pod, we introduce the topic of fixed location local vending machines, LVMs, and how those will tie into robotic micro-fulfillment centers that are basically next-generation Rivian vans with a cartridge that inside has a robotic system that can micro-fulfill products on the van and rotate them up for the next customer up. This is going to be a really interesting future that ties together all of our favorite topics. So I love e-commerce, AI, robotics, autonomous vehicles, and humanoid robots. So it's going to be a little science fiction-y, but I think you'll enjoy the topic, the conversation, and hopefully you find it as fascinating and inspirational as I did. Brittain Ladd, welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you on here. You had some a little bit of breaking news, and we wanted to get you on. I was really fascinated by what you had said on LinkedIn. But before we jump into that, give me a little bit of background of who is Brittain Ladd and how do you end up knowing so much about not only fulfillment and those types of topics, but what's going on at Amazon?
So my background is primarily focused on supply chain, logistics, transportation. After serving in the Marines for 6 years and earning a bachelor's degree, I began my career in the trucking industry and just moved into logistics, moved into supply chain, worked for Dell, worked for Michael Stores, worked for Deloitte. And then I was recruited from Deloitte by Amazon. So I used to work at Amazon and worked in several different areas of Amazon while I was there. And so I learned a lot about the company. I've stayed in contact with lots of people from Amazon. And along the way, I also started to write articles for Forbes. I write articles for LinkedIn. I have my own website. And I continue to do consulting. I work with a lot of AI. I work with a lot of tech. I work with different companies globally. And it's just really given me this background, this understanding of what's really going on out there. And I stay on top of specific topics. Number one is AI. Number two is robotics. Number three is logistics.
Got it. Okay. And then I also saw you'd done some consulting with Instacart, which will be kind of kind of in the swim lane of what we're going to talk about as well.
Yes, I was an advisor to them from 2022 to 2023.
What do you think about all the AI companies pilfering their technology? I saw the CEO is going to OpenAI, and then Walmart just announced they're hiring their chief product officer. So it seems like Instacart is where everyone's grabbing talent from these days that wants to get into e-commerce.
Well, I actually wrote a post about a month and a half ago, I think it was, where I made the argument. I said, this is who should be the next CEO of Instacart. And I named the current CEO as being one of the candidates, but I said my choice would be Daniel Danker. And Daniel Danker is who Walmart hired. And I stated in the post that if Daniel doesn't become the CEO of Instacart, not only will he leave, but a lot of people are going to leave Instacart, and that's really going to harm the company. And that post was accurate. It's starting to become a reality. I wasn't surprised when Walmart hired away Daniel, and I won't be surprised if the majority of the best technicians, talent at Instacart do leave and go to Walmart and other companies.
Okay, well, let's jump into the Amazon topic. So, Amazon has been stating for a while they want to get better at rural delivery. So that's kind of one thing that's out there. And then they've also stated they've had many kind of starts and stops on grocery. So, give us before we jump into what you think's happening, where are we in the spectrum of rural and grocery for Amazon as it relates to supply chain and delivery?
Well, Amazon is investing, I think, about $4 billion into improving rural logistics. There are many things that they're going to be doing, opening up more of their fulfillment centers, warehouses, sortation centers, putting in more DSP and so forth. So that's something that was anticipated. I knew that was something that was coming. As far as grocery, the challenge for Amazon remains this. Amazon doesn't have very many grocery stores. They have Whole Foods. But when you look at Amazon and you compare them to Walmart and Albertsons and Kroger and so forth, Amazon really is an infant. They really are at a disadvantage because they're going up against grocery retailers who have thousands of stores. And so the challenge for Amazon is, so what's our strategy? And I've been writing about this topic for years. In 2013, I'd written an article, a research paper I recommended to Amazon to acquire Whole Foods. And I pointed out to Amazon that you really are going to have a choice you'll have to make. You can either enter into an arms race with Walmart and Kroger and so forth and try and go head to head with them, opening up more stores. Or I said the smart thing would be to do is come up with a new definition of a store. And that's where I started to write about the topic of using mobile vans that you can hail like you could hail an Uber and change the trajectory of the Amazon strategy for groceries. And then the other thing I spoke to Amazon about and have recommended is leveraging micro fulfillment centers in standalone locations. And these micro fulfillment centers do nothing more than fulfill online orders. And Amazon could easily build 750, 1,000 or more of these standalone locations, and they'd be a fraction of the cost than opening up a full-size grocery store. But they would also be easily placed very close to customers because they're much smaller and they can fit to much closer to urban areas. So at a high level, that's really where we're at. Walmart remains the king of all groceries. Amazon still only controls about 2.5% of the grocery market share. So they have an awful lot of work to do.
Yeah, and they really want that grocery because share of wallet, right? Because if you look at where people spend their money, grocery is the highest percentage that Amazon doesn't touch today.
Correct. So the way to think of it is this, and this is the way I always describe it. Amazon is an ecosystem. Within that ecosystem, you have different customers, and those customers have different needs. And one of the needs of those customers in Amazon's ecosystem are groceries. Amazon doesn't have a very good way to provide groceries to that customer base. And because of that, Amazon's missing out on a $1 trillion market. That's how big the grocery industry is in the United States. And so Amazon knows they have to improve that. They have to find a way to become top of mind for customers who need groceries. The majority of customers who are Prime members for Amazon don't buy their groceries from Amazon. They buy their groceries elsewhere. One of the things I find fascinating is that even at Whole Foods, 97% of Whole Foods customers leave the store and finish their shopping at another retailer, primarily Walmart. And so Amazon has to also come up with a solution for how do they keep Whole Foods customers in the store by allowing them to buy Cheetos and Coke and Tide and Pepsi and those other products. My argument to Amazon is just simply have Whole Foods stock those products on their shelves. Another option, and one I'm not a big fan of, although I invented this strategy, is opening up automated micro fulfillment centers in the back rooms of stores in Whole Foods. And you put Coke, Tide, Pepsi, Cheetos, and all those unnatural ingredient products inside the micro fulfillment center. Customers come in, they buy their wholesome products on the shelves, and then everyone turns a blind eye, and the customer simply goes over to a kiosk and places an order for all the products that have unnatural ingredients. It's fulfilled, brought to them in a control station. They reach in and grab it and pick it up, and off they go. So that's basically what's going on right now in regards to that.
Interesting. Okay. Well, let's talk about the kind of local vending machine. So what is an LVM, and what did you learn recently that got you kind of excited about that?
So it's been interesting. I've actually been aware of this project for a couple of years. In 2023, I'd written an article, and I believe the title of the article is automation in the back of Rivian vans the next big thing for Amazon? And what I did in the article is that I challenged Amazon. I said, why is it you're not leveraging a robotic system in the back of your vans for delivering packages, and you have a robotic system actually find the package before the driver arrives at their destination and then stage that package behind the seat of that driver? So the driver can pull up to a home, apartment, whatever. They get out of the van, the package is right there, they grab it and they go.
Because today what it is, it's just a rack of, and then you put totes on there, right? And then the totes are organized by the stops that they're going in some sequence. So it's much more manual tote based.
Correct. So today packages are put in the van. They try and put some semblance of order of where they're going to be delivered, but it's not scientific. It's not really foolproof. And so the system that I designed two systems. One is you just simply put all of the packages into like a hive type system, a rack, and you basically leverage the ability of the floor on the system to move packages around. It's almost like you have a game where it's like a 12 piece and one piece is missing and you're trying to move all the numbers. Well, that's pretty much what I designed for Amazon to put in the van. But Amazon has engineers who are much more talented than I am. So they've come up with their own system to do this. But I also stated in that article, I said the other thing that I believe Amazon should do is create an automated micro fulfillment capability to where in the back of the vans, customers can hail one of those vans to come to their location. They can buy what they need, and then the system automatically fulfills it from the van. And that's something that Amazon also is working on. And so the post over the weekend was really just an update on where Amazon is at in that project.
Okay. So do they have like working prototypes of this, or where are they on the life cycle of making this a reality?
So as far as the LVM goes, so LVM, local vending machine, it's just a strange way for Amazon to refer to a micro fulfillment center. A micro fulfillment center is the same type of technology from like a company like AutoStore. Fabric has a micro fulfillment center and so forth. Bright Pick has a micro fulfillment center. Amazon just refers to it as an LVM. Amazon has already built an LVM. I think it's actually pretty good. The LVM that they have today is primarily for ambient temperature products. They aren't fulfilling fruits and vegetables, cold chain, frozen products yet, but they're working on that system. So Amazon absolutely has an LVM. They've already tested it, and now they're on a second generation of the LVM. The, Correct. This is not on wheels. The LVM is a fairly sizable system that you could put 25, 30, 35, 40,000 products inside if you wanted to. And you could pull from that inventory to fulfill online orders. Amazon is actually installing one of these systems in conjunction with a company called Fulfill. And Fulfill has a system that can do fresh, frozen, and chilled products. So in a Whole Foods store in Pennsylvania, Amazon is installing this system. It should be actually finished here fairly soon. What Amazon is doing for the van, does Amazon have a van that has a system in it for the packages? Yes, they're testing it. Does Amazon have a van that actually has the micro fulfillment system for mobile retail? Yes. I've seen all of the designs. I've seen the latest designs. I actually think they're really interesting. I think it's quite unique the way they're doing it. I won't give a lot of information about it because I promised Amazon I wouldn't do that. But is this something that will work? And the answer is yes. I have lots of people who reach out to me and they're like, but wouldn't this be too expensive? And wouldn't it be, too hard to make this work? And I'm like, what do you think's harder? Building a store or building vans that are designated to carry specific products? So I don't want to give the impression that one of these mobile retail vans are going to have 2,000 or 3,000 SKUs on them. They're not. They're basically designed by category. So you're going to have everyday essentials on a van: toothpaste, shaving cream, razors, and so forth. You're going to have over-the-counter medicines on a van. That's basically going to be your pharmaceutical supply chain. Then you're going to have for baby food, baby products, and so forth. And then you're going to have snacks and soda. Amazon will basically have these vans by category. Some may have fruits and vegetables, some may have meat, and so forth. But what Amazon's going to be doing is basically testing these vans to see which SKUs sell the best. They have to. There's no such thing as a one size fits all for this system. The system I've seen is primarily for everyday essentials, snacks, and so forth. They need a different configuration for anything that requires a cold chain, something that needs to be chilled or frozen. That's being perfected as well. So do I believe this will work? Absolutely. But it all comes down to the perfection of the LVM first. Amazon has to be able to create an infrastructure that allows them to fulfill online orders quickly so that they can then fulfill the order. That order gets placed, staged. And then the way I recommended to Amazon to do it is I said, think of it as a printer cartridge. Imagine you're creating a system that Amazon can load into a van as easy as a person could put a new cartridge into a printer. And the reason why that's vital is the last thing you want is for Amazon to have a van show up that has a bunch of totes on it. That's not efficient. However, if Amazon can take an automated system, put products inside of it, all kinds of products, and then simply slide those into the van and lock them in place and plug it in, and that it is fulfilled leveraging a robotic system inside the van. Now that is something that's technologically proficient, but that's something that also will significantly reduce cost. The long-term goal is this: how does Amazon reduce their overall cost related to fulfilling an order so that it costs pennies on the dollar to fulfill an online grocery order, and those will be delivered by a Rivian van? And then how do you send out Rivian vans that are mobile retail stores where the cost to operate the van is pennies on the dollar because you're selling so much product through that van? That's really what the goal is that Amazon is working towards.
Very cool. Yeah, it's interesting. So these vans could, and this kind of goes back to your AI, where they have so much data, they can look at certain zips and even fractional zips and say, you know, Sunday night football is coming up. Let's go deploy a van that's largely full of snacks because we've seen the data, and this zip code is going to be ordering snacks like crazy on Sunday because it's football day or something like that. They have enough data that they can kind of predict demand and get these vans near where it's going to be demanded.
Correct. And so the reason why the printer cartridge concept is so important, what Amazon would do in that case also would be they're going to leverage data, they're going to run analytics, and they're going to say, well, based on demand, and we're going to introduce stochastic modeling to introduce unknown demand. So, and then we're going to come up with a factor, and we're going to say we need to stage X amount of product to meet the anticipated demand. And so instead of these vans having to go back to where they would normally be resupplied, Amazon actually can stage product in refrigerated trailers and other areas, and the vans would go there, have a cartridge put in, pull out the old one, put the new one in, and then they're immediately back on the road fulfilling orders. So this is really a science-based program. I remember when I first wrote it, I remember when I first came up with this idea and I started to talk about it, I was like, wow, this is going to be super complicated. But Amazon over the years has gotten so good at understanding the principles of logistics and network density and so forth, and applying optimization to every aspect of an order, understanding who your customers are, understanding demand profiles and so forth. This is what's really allowing Amazon to come up with something like this.
Very cool. So they have a prototype of the fixed area that can do this very rapid fulfillment and get the cost down. And then they've got a prototype of the van. Does the current van prototype, is it in this cartridge configuration? Can you say, or they're not quite there yet?
I would say that it is. It's different than what I had designed. I'm not saying my design is better. Amazon's design is different. And until I see some videos, I'm not really sure if that's maybe the optimal. But here's the thing. Even if it's not optimal at the moment, I guarantee you, Amazon's team, as brilliant as they are, before they take this and scale it nationwide, they absolutely will have chosen the best configuration for the van, the best assortment of product in the van, the best tech stack in the van, the best printer cartridge strategy for the van. So I like it. It's still a little clunky, but it's to be expected. It's just it's a startup. Basically, you could consider what Amazon's doing. It's a startup project. Eventually, it will get better, but I still think it's incredibly impressive. This is not like a bunch of little refrigerators stuck in a van. This is a really high-tech system that leverages AI, lots of analytics, lots of an ability to understand profiles of the customers that they serve. Plus, it's powered with machine learning as well. So this is something where, as it learns what these customers want by a specific region, Amazon will be making adjustments to those profiles based on time of day, day of week, week of the month of the year, to take into account seasonality and so forth. So I really do believe this is the future of grocery retailing. But to me, it's the only way for Amazon to beat someone like a Walmart and beat Kroger and beat some of these other retailers by coming up with a model so unique, so different, a model that's so based on science that it really does allow Amazon to do something unique that doesn't require Amazon to have to enter into an arms race and start building store after store after store. For example, Amazon, I broke this story actually that Amazon was going to build a supercenter. And I was totally against that idea. I'm like, why in the world would you do that? I'm like, why don't you just go acquire Costco? I said, if you want to be in the supercenter business, acquire Costco. And so Amazon did not go forward with the project, with the supercenter. They could possibly bring it back to life, but Amazon, after really thinking about it, looking at it, evaluating it, they realized maybe this isn't a priority at the moment and that we should be working on some of these other things as well. And that's something I've always complimented Amazon on. Amazon can think big, but Amazon executes very well. They don't get distracted.
And they think long term too. So this may be V1. They may have to get to V5 before they scale it, and they're fine failing a couple times to get to that one that ultimately ends up scaling. Yeah. Um, Anything else that we should know?
I think the thing to understand is that this is really a big move for Amazon. Everything Amazon is doing related to AI, everything Amazon is doing related to logistics really is to allow Amazon to perfect a model, a retail model that truly allows them to increase velocity end to end across everything that they do, but do so in a way where they leverage and have to utilize the least amount of infrastructure. They don't want a bunch of stores. They don't want a bunch of new warehouses, a bunch of new distribution centers. They really want to they really want to leverage robotics, AI, machine learning, advanced transportation models such as the vans as humanly possible. And by doing that, eventually Amazon believes that they will catch up and surpass Walmart. When I recommended to Amazon to acquire Whole Foods in my 2013 report, my argument was that if Amazon does acquire Whole Foods and if Amazon does some of the things that they're doing now, I said between 2030 and 2035, Amazon will become larger than Walmart in terms of selling groceries. Now, it's Amazon is only about 2.5%. Walmart controls about 24% of the market. That's a big delta that Amazon has to overcome. But I believe that little by little by little, Amazon's going to chip away at what Walmart is doing. And I really think that Amazon has a shot at becoming the largest grocery retailer in the US, not largest by number of stores, but largest based on how many customers are they really serving for groceries, for meals, for everyday essentials and things like that.
Yeah, the way to crack it open is get this quadrant that it has to be more convenient than you going to the store, which they could do today, but the cost is prohibitive, right? So that's where the robotics comes in. So if it could be more convenient, the cost to deliver is lower than anything else out there. Even like the Instacart with the Instacarter type model, a human doing this last mile supply chain. And then you delight the customer with the whole experience being so convenient, and maybe even you pass on some of those cost savings to them because now you don't have all that extra cost in the system. That could be a way that they really surpass what's available.
Correct. And then here's the other thing. It's only a matter of time before autonomous vehicles are allowed to travel on roads much more frequently with much less constraint. We know that Amazon is building their own humanoid robot. I actually broke that story. That was fascinating. And that they tried to hide that project very well, but I was able to dig enough and find it. So Amazon's testing their own robots. They're testing robots from Figure and Unitree and all kinds of other companies as well. But what the long-term goal is this: Amazon wants to have a Rivian van that basically is autonomous. However, somebody's going to have to retrieve a package. Someone's going to have to maybe retrieve groceries and so forth. And that's where robotics come into play. So nirvana for Amazon will be, I have a system that allows me to fulfill online orders quickly. I have a van that allows me to meet everyday essentials for customers. I can use vans to transport groceries to customers. But I also have a van that's autonomous and now has a robotic passenger on it, or a humanoid robot that basically can retrieve products and give them to customers and so forth. If they can do that, the majority of costs have completely been eliminated for Amazon, and Amazon's profit margins are just going to skyrocket. So everything that Amazon is doing behind the scenes, testing humanoid robotics, there's a reason for that. All of this really is to get Amazon to where they have the most efficient network, the most efficient ability for delivering groceries, other retail products at the lowest cost using the most technology possible. And it avoids having to massively invest capital in lots and lots of stores that, frankly, I just don't think they're going to need.
The the local vending machines, is that what does the store, the mobile van replenishment, or it's just another part of the chain to support all this?
No, the goal would be that you'll have a location, whether it's in you theoretically could fulfill these vans at a store, a Whole Food store, an Amazon Fresh store, whatever. More than likely, what they'll do is they'll open up a separate facility. Inside will be an LVM. The LVM will fulfill online orders, but the LVM will also fulfill orders to the cartridges. They'll replenish the cartridges. And so now you've automated the grocery side and the everyday essential side of these vans taking product out to customers.
Okay, I got it.
But it gets even more interesting. What I anticipate Amazon will do is once they perfect that LVM technology, they're going to lease it. They're going to sell it to other companies. And I think that's really going to be a pretty interesting model for Amazon, to where they say, why are you doing business with Dematic and Schaefer and Vanderland and all these other companies? Why not just simply leverage our robotic technology? And those companies in the robotic business, in the automation business, for some reason, they don't think Amazon can do that, or they're not thinking Amazon will do that. And so by 2030, we may see that Amazon is the largest provider of robotic technology and automated micro fulfillment systems in the entire world.
With Kiva, they did the opposite. Kiva was available to lots of retailers, and then they made it proprietary, and they don't license that out. Is that correct?
They don't license out Kiva yet, but Amazon has created many, many more robots than what Kiva is doing. LVM is a completely different system from Kiva, but Amazon absolutely will lease their robots to customers. This isn't really well known, but Amazon is wanting to become one of the largest third-party logistics companies in the world. And one of the things that they're offering to customers who sign up for their logistics services is that Amazon will automate their facilities using Kiva and other robots. Amazon is kind of doing this quietly as they perfect it, but Amazon absolutely has the ability to become one of the largest third-party logistics companies in the world, no doubt.
Absolutely. Do you think they ever just compete directly with UPS and FedEx, and they say, hey, you got a package to ship. We're going to be by your house soon anyway. Just throw it on your porch, put a label on it, and we'll take it from Scott, North Carolina to Brittain in Texas for $3, because we already have the routes and everything already going on in there.
My first project at Amazon was designing a strategy for how Amazon could be a third-party logistics company, but also for how could Amazon actually become UPS, become FedEx. And over the last several years, Amazon has actually been testing that model. What you will see probably no later than 2026 is that when you check out, customers will be able to fulfill an order, companies will be able to fulfill an order, but instead of it being FedEx or UPS or the US Postal Service, or it being a third-party logistics company making that delivery, you'll see that Amazon is actually a choice. And Amazon will be a selection that you can choose in addition to a FedEx, or in replace of a FedEx, in replace of a UPS. The biggest mistake, the absolute biggest mistake that FedEx and UPS made was foolishly convincing themselves that they were unique, that only they could do what they do, which is laughable. And Amazon looked at everything that UPS and FedEx is doing, and they said, that's nothing more than logistics, and we're experts at logistics. So not only will Amazon compete head-to-head against FedEx and UPS, but I guarantee you, in that same time frame of between 2030 and 2035, Amazon becomes the new FedEx. Amazon becomes the new UPS. One of the things I recommended in 2016 and in 2020 and in 2023 is that I believe Amazon should go to the federal government and say, we want to acquire the Postal Service. The Congress can fund all of the unfunded liabilities for the Postal Service, but we as Amazon want to own the Postal Service. We want access to all of those lanes, all of those mailboxes and everything, because we know that we can create a much better model, a much more efficient model. And if Amazon were to do that, they now become much larger than FedEx and UPS overnight because of their combined logistics network and infrastructure. So I believe that Amazon absolutely is going to move in this direction. And it's only a matter of time before Amazon does it. It's just that today it's not a priority for Amazon because Amazon's building out other things in their network. They're working on other strategies.
It could be a way, like once they get all this last mile stuff, though, they're going to want to put more through it to really monetize it and get
Correct.
it scaled up. So that's probably one of the last things they could turn on to achieve that. Awesome. Well, Brittain, thanks for taking the time to hop on with us and share some of this. It's endlessly fascinating, but I know you have a lot of other stuff you're working on. So thanks for the time.
Oh, you're welcome. Great to be here.
Follow, rate, and share to stay up to date with Retailgenic, your guide to the future of AI shopping agents.